we're not borrowing unsecured funds from these private lenders. We are giving them collateral. We are collateralizing the note with the real estate that we're buying. So
Nice.
it's just a great way for someone to be passively interested in real estate because they don't have to negotiate deals as a private lender. They don't have to locate deals. They don't have to rehab deals. They don't have to sell them. They don't have to manage people. A private lender sits back and either watches their retirement account grow or they sit back and they just collect checks safely and securely because that note is collateralized.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Passive Road to Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Jarrett. Today, we are joined by the authority on private money, Jay Conner. He has been buying and selling houses since 2003 in a population of only 40,000 with profits averaging 71,000 each. Rehabbed over 450 houses and have been involved in over $52 million in transactions. For the past 7 years, Jay has completely automated his 7-figure income business to where he works in his business less than 10 hours a week. Consulted one-on-one with over 2,000 real estate investors, raised over $2 million in less than 90 days in private money when he was cut off from the banks. He's a national speaker on topics of private money, automation, and foreclosures, and a best-selling author of Where to Get the Money Now. He's a leading expert on private lending, marketing, and business development. He and his wife, Carol Joyer, reside in Morehead City, North Carolina. Jay, welcome to the show.
Well, hey there, Andrew. Thank you so much for inviting me to come along and talk about my favorite subject, which is private money.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
So I guess for those who don't know, what is private money?
Well, that's a good place to start. So when I'm talking about private money, I'm not talking about hard money. So if you have heard of hard money lenders or hard money brokers, that's what a hard money lender is. Most of the time, a hard money lender is a broker of money. Hard money lender goes out and raises money for their fund that they in turn, turn around and loan that money out, charge origination fees and points, and they make money on money. But in this world of private money, as a real estate investor, you would be borrowing money for your real estate deals from human beings, from an individual that loans their money out either from their investment capital, just liquid funds, and or their retirement funds. Now, there's a big point right there. Self-directed IRAs. I never heard of self-directed IRAs until 2009 when I was learning about private money. A self-directed IRA, where a private lender can loan money from, is they have an established current retirement account. They can actually transfer those funds over, no taxes, no penalty or nothing, to an IRS-approved self-directed IRA company, also known as a third-party custodian. And they can loan that money out to you as a real estate investor, either tax-deferred income, tax-free. So learning about self-directed IRAs and how they work is a really, really big point for us real estate investors using private money, because right now I got 44 private lenders that are funding our deals, and over 50% of our private lenders are using their retirement money to fund our deals. So what's a private lender? An individual. We're not doing business with institutions, not with banks, but it's one-on-one transaction between the private lender and us or your entity with no middle person involved. And since there's no middle person involved, you get to make the rules and you get to set what the guidelines are. I mean, what's a private lender? A private lender does not require an application. You're already approved, right? Your credit score has got nothing to do with it. So it's an individual. It's a human being.
So if your credit score doesn't matter, is it against the asset more than yourself, I'm guessing?
Absolutely. Now, that's not to say that having a great relationship with these people that are your private lenders is not as important. Sure. I mean, a lot of times people call private money relationship money, right? But what is really sealing the deal and get people so excited about being a private lender for a real estate investor are the high rates of return that they earn safely and securely. So when I say they earn it securely, we're not borrowing unsecured funds from these private lenders. We are giving them collateral. We are collateralizing the note with the real estate that we're buying. So
Nice.
it's just a great way for someone to be passively interested in real estate because they don't have to negotiate deals as a private lender. They don't have to locate deals. They don't have to rehab deals. They don't have to sell them. They don't have to manage people. A private lender sits back and either watches their retirement account grow or they sit back and they just collect checks safely and securely because that note is collateralized.
Yep. And I know my audience is going to love this because it's the passive road to retirement. So this is this is a great subject. I'm sure people are going to love it. So now, how did you come across and get involved with the private money world?
Well, I can tell you how I didn't do it. I just didn't wake up one morning and say, "Hey, I think I'll go raise some private money." No, actually, it was the opposite. You know, Andrew, what I have discovered in all these years, my biggest growth, my biggest quantum leaps, my biggest blessings came along when I was in the valley. They came along when I had a problem, also known as an opportunity, right? So this world of private money came about because of a problem that turned into this huge blessing. In fact, if I hadn't had this problem, you and I wouldn't even be visiting today. They're doing this interview. So how did I come across it? Well, I remember it just like it was yesterday. And I know you may find this hard to believe, Andrew, but we actually still have landline telephones here in North Carolina. I know some people don't even know what a landline telephone is that actually has a cord attached to it.
Can you text on those, right?
So anyway, I remember, you see, from 2003 to 2009, the first 6 years I was investing in single family houses. I've been doing it now since 2003 full time. And my first 6 years, I relied on the local bank. That's all I knew. I didn't know any other way to get my real estate funded. So in January of 2009, I picked up the phone here in my office and I called my banker, whose name was Steve at the time. And I'd had this type of conversation with Steve countless times for 6 years, 2003 to 2009.
Right.
I told Steve about these two houses that I had under contract. The profit was over $100,000 on these two houses. And I told him how much money was required to fund the deals and when I wanted to close. That's what I told him many, many, many times. And I learned real quick in that conversation that I had no more money or line of credit at the bank. And I said, Steve, why has my line of credit been shut down? He says, we're just not loaning money out to real estate investors anymore these days. And I found out I wasn't the only cat in town that happened to, right? I mean, we had a global financial crisis going on that I didn't know about. Right. But now I've lost my line of credit. Now I got a crisis, right? So I hung up the phone and I sat here for a moment at my desk and I thought to myself, Jay, it's impossible to fail unless you choose to quit. And quitting was not an option for me. So I sat here and I said, who do I know that's investing in real estate that might could help me with my problem? And so I thought of my friend Jeff, who lived in Greensboro, North Carolina at the time, and he was investing in single family houses. So I called him up and I told Jeff what had happened. He said, well, welcome to the club. I said, what club? He said, the club of losing your line of credit at the bank. They just cut me off last week.
Really? Wow.
And he said, I said, well, how are you funding your deals? He said, I'm using private money. And I said, what's private money? I'd never heard that phrase, private money. And so Jeff told me about private money and what the concept was. And He told me about self-directed IRAs. Well, I put on my student hat and I did a lot of research and a lot of education very, very quickly. So I put from that experience, I put together what I call my private money program. Well, what's my private money program? My private money program is what I teach people how to be a private lender, how they can earn rates of return safely and securely, very, very high rates. And, what interest rate do I pay? What's the length of the note? How they can get their money back in case of emergency. And you know what's interesting, Andrew? I said I put on my student hat to learn about private money. As soon as I put my program together and started teaching individuals how this works, guess what? I had my teacher hat on now. I'm teaching them how this works. And do you know, Andrew, to this date, since I started using private money to fund my real estate deals, I've never asked anybody for money. I've never asked anybody for money. And people say, Jay, have you got $8.5 million in private money available that you use on, projects to projects to projects, and you never ask anybody for money? Well, it's real simple. It's all about teaching. It's all about serving, about making a difference in their life. And the worst time to raise private money is when you need it, right?
Makes sense.
So I never present a deal or deals to a potential private lender that hasn't first said, I love the program and here's how much money I got to work with and how do I get started? I tell a new private lender, I don't have anything for you today. Hopefully I could in the near future, but first here's the program. Well, they're excited about the program. And then I come back to them, might be 2 days, 3 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And you know what, Andrew? I've never pitched a deal in my life. I call them up. Here's exactly what I tell them, Andrew. I call them up and I say, I got great news for you. I can now put your money to work for you. I got a house in Newport with an after repaired value of $200,000. Funding requires $150,000. Closing is next Thursday, so you'll need to have your funds wired by next Wednesday. I'm not going to ask them, do they want to fund the deal? That's the most stupid thing I could do. Of course they want to fund the deal.
Right.
They've been waiting for the phone call. So anyway, it's all about educating and showing people how they can get these high rates of return safely and securely.
And they can find that on your website, right? The private money.
So actually, a private lender is not going to learn the program on my website. But when they, connect with me, if someone wants to be a private lender, they want to be passive or whatever, the website that we give out here on the show, they can connect with me. My phone number's there. They can just call me up.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So I guess out of all those reasons you have for private money, what's your favorite reason that you like to use private money?
Well, the list is long. But my favorite reason is I receive multiple checks on every transaction that I do, on every deal. Traditionally, I got one check. When I used to borrow the money from the bank, I got a check when I sold the house.
Right.
Right. And made a profit.
Right.
That's the only time I got a check.
Yeah.
But now I get multiple checks. So I buy houses at deeply discounted prices because most of them need renovation. So I always borrow more money than I need to buy the house because I'm going to be renovating it. And plus, there's always a lot of equity. So I borrow a maximum of 75% of the after repaired value, right? Not 75% of the purchase price, but 75% of the after repaired value.
Sure.
So I get multiple checks. I get a check when I buy. I mean, who doesn't want to get paid to buy houses? And the private lender is still very, very well protected and well secured. If I sell it on rent to own to what we call a tenant buyer, and we help them get ready for a mortgage, I'm going to collect a large non-refundable option fee, also known as a lease option deposit. So I might get $10,000, $20,000 if I sell it that way. And then when the buyer is ready for cash out and they're getting a mortgage, then I get another check. So multiple checks put you in the control seat, put you in the driver's seat, and private money, there's no hurry to pay it back. Credit score's got nothing to do with it. And as I say, it just fixes your cash flow problems. I tell new real estate investors the fastest way to get your first real estate deal is by using private money, because the majority of the deals out there require all the cash, right?
Yeah.
Now, I know we're going to negotiate with a seller using terms, seller financing, subject to the existing note, all that kind of stuff. But in my statistics over the years, only 13% of for sale by owners will sell creatively. What do the other 87% require?
Cash.
All the cash.
Yep.
And of course, any bank-owned property or house on an auction or in the multiple listing service, they all require the cash, right? So private money is where the real world lives.
Yep. And they probably love it when you call them because they want to get their money to work rather than
Absolutely. And
by
then
inflation.
and then when I cash out and I'm getting ready to pay them off, they say, "Can't you just keep the money?" Because they know as long as they get the money back, they're not earning any money on their money.
Right.
And I don't keep the money because I do not borrow unsecured funds. I always borrow secured funds by backing that note with real estate.
Interesting. Now, I guess how much private money is available to find?
Well, that's got two answers. Prior to COVID, there was $18 trillion with a T sitting in cash in retirement accounts. That doesn't even include liquid capital.
Yeah.
In retirement accounts prior to COVID. Today, on this side of COVID, $31 trillion in cash
That's insane.
just sitting in people's retirement accounts. Now, that doesn't include, as I said, all that just liquid capital that's in cash. I'm just talking about in retirement accounts. So here's the deal. There's more cash on the street than there's ever been before, regardless of your political affiliation. Here's the fact. There's been more money printed in the basement of the White House in the current administration than ever before in this period of time. So much cash on the street. People don't know what to do with their cash. I mean, my lands, Andrew, a certificate of deposit for 12 months in the local bank is yielding right now, even with the increase in interest rates, is yielding about 0.25%.
Yeah.
0.25%.
Ridiculous.
You come along and pay a private lender 8%, that's 32 more times money that they can earn at the local bank. I will tell you another big reason I love private money. There's no limit to the number of private lenders you can have as a real estate investor. I got 44.
Yeah.
They can be in any state in the nation. And so there's no limit. You see, I had a limit to my line of credit when they cut me off. There is no limit to the amount of money, which means I can do all the deals that I want. And I tell you what, this business is all about serving people. And, you know, we have some elderly private lenders in that 44 number. And we have got handwritten thank you notes from these people thanking us being me and my wife, Carol Joy, for changing their retirement years and earning those kinds of returns. I got one private lender just in 1 year earned $65,000 tax-free because he was using his retirement funds to lend to us. But, you know, it's got nothing to, as a real estate investor raising money, it's got nothing to do with fear of rejection. How can you be rejected if you're not trying to raise money for a deal and you're teaching somebody how they can earn high rates of return safely and securely, and then they want you to put their money to work, and then you have a deal come along and you put their money to work? There's nobody going to reject me on anything when I'm out here just looking to make a difference in their lives. And it ends up being a win-win-win scenario every time.
Like I said, what's the alternative? A CD at 0.025 or the stock market, which could drop 30%, right? With no control.
Absolutely. Well, that's another thing. You see, since I pay interest-only payments, or I just let the interest accrue, I'm not making, if there's any payments, you know, we structure deals where there's no payments. I mean, the private lender just accrues interest and we catch it up when we sell. Off of it. right?
Mm-hmm.
And so even in those cases, interest only payments is a win-win. It's a win for the lender, the private lender, because they're earning more money. If
Right.
I'm paying principal and interest, I'm paying down their principal investment amount, and they don't have all their money still invested.
Mm-hmm.
And on my side as the borrower, an interest only payment is helps cash flow because interest
Yeah.
only payments are smaller than principal and interest.
Exactly.
So again, it ends up being a win-win for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. Now, where do you find your private lenders, or where can somebody find these people?
You got some great questions there, Andrew. So there are three primary categories of where to find private lenders. And here's the three categories, and then I'll take a moment and unpack it. First category is what I call your warm market, people that you've got some kind of relationship with. Second category is what I call your expanded warm market. How do you grow your network to grow
Mm-hmm.
your net worth? And the third category are existing private lenders. Where do you find existing private lenders, individuals that are already loaning money out to real estate investors? Well, let's start with category number one, your warm market. So, as a real estate investor, you're looking to raise private money. You know a lot more people than you think you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody in your cell phone, right? That's a contact, is a potential private lender. Everybody on your email list, everybody that's on your social network, your Facebook, and I don't mean your fake Facebook friends, but
Right.
people you actually know, right?
Right. Yeah.
Your LinkedIn connections, your Instagram, your TikTok, your Snapchat, all that stuff, right, are all connections. And then there's your social network. Who do you go to church with? Are you in a civic group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you play poker with on Thursday night? Whatever,
Yeah.
whoever your connections are.
Right.
So that's your warm market, right? Second is your expanded warm market. And so I teach my students how to grow. I mean, everybody agrees networking as a real estate investor
Yep.
is very, very important if you're wanting to expand your network in order to attract more private money.
Mm-hmm.
So it all comes down to getting involved in your local community if you are not already. Join the Rotary Club, join Business Networking International, which is a networking group. Get involved in your local chamber of commerce. Now, though that strategy is a long-term play, you're not going to be raising private money in a week
Right.
from doing that,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to be genuinely interested in people. You want to be going to that with a servant's heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And naturally, as you develop more relationships, then you're going to be attracting, more private money. Then existing private lenders, where in the world do you find them people? Well, I can tell you the hard place to find them. Don't find them the way I started out. I hired my real estate attorney's paralegal to search public records
Hmm.
in our local county, looking for individual names that were loaning money out backed by real estate. Here in North Carolina, it's a deed of trust.
Okay.
So in 90 days, she found two people. I said, got to
Wow.
be a quicker way than that.
Yeah.
So we started developing what I now call my private lender data feed. Private lender data feed.
Okay.
So I didn't develop it, but some very smart software developers developed it to where my data feed goes out every month and gets contact information from public records of every private lender loan that closed in the past 30 days. There's over 12,000 of them every month
Wow.
across the nation. And so in the data feed, you get their contact information, the interest rate that they're earning, and how much money they're loaning out. And so if you are interested in the private lender data feed, don't worry. I'm going to show you here at the end of the show how to get on that for free. And where else can you find existing private lenders? Well, I can tell you, first of all, self-directed IRA networking events. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, Andrew, let me ask you this. Do you already suggest or endorse a particular self-directed IRA company?
Usually advanced IRA.
Okay, so you've got one. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they have networking events.
Yep.
Now, here's what's interesting. On average, 70% of people that have self-directed IRA companies are wanting to loan their money out to you, the real estate investor.
Mm-hmm.
70% of them.
Yep.
I know one self-directed IRA company that's having a networking event in the next few weeks. They're expecting 1,000 people.
Wow.
Imagine networking with 700 of those people wanting to loan you money,
Right.
right? Now, you don't have to go to an in-person event. They have them on Zoom as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that those are the different categories of where you can find this money.
Okay. Now, I'd imagine going to the IRA events are probably a little easier to talk to people about it versus a Rotary Club or something. So, if you go to a Rotary Club or you're out at dinner and meeting people, how do you, bring that up or broach the subject, I guess, of private money?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I love it. One thing that holds real estate investors back from teaching and raising private capital is they don't know how to start the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Well, here's how you start the conversation. This is a writer downer right here.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Okay. So I love to start a sentence with 3 words. And here's the 3 words. Did you know? And of course, I love asking a question that the person I'm asking does not know the answer to the question. So that's
Right,
going to lead
exactly.
to a conversation.
Yeah.
So here's my favorite conversation starter, or in the midst of a conversation. And the question is, did you know there's a way people can earn unlimited money per year tax free?
People probably like that question.
They don't know
I'm
the
sure.
answer to that question. They don't know. And of course, what am I talking about? I'm talking about people moving their current retirement funds over to a self-directed IRA company, also known as a third-party custodian.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have, depending on the type of retirement account they have, they can earn tax-free money and no limit to it. If they get, for example, if they have a Roth IRA, then they can earn unlimited money per year tax free. It's at least going to be, regardless of their retirement account, at least it's going to be tax deferred. I got one private lender that earned $65,000 in 1 year, tax free,
Yeah.
right? So I love starting the conversation with the "Did you know?"
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. That's a good way to approach a subject. So so you're borrowing, private money. What is your, I guess, typical real estate deal, or what does your investing business, consist of or look like?
Yeah, so I don't do a ton of deals like a wholesaler. In fact, I've never wholesaled a deal in my life. And of course, when I'm talking about wholesaling, I'm talking about getting a house under contract to buy.
Right.
And then I'm not going to stay in the deal. I'm going to assign my contract to another real estate investor that's actually got the money to take it down and pay me an assignment fee for that contract. I've never done it in my life because I like $71,000 better than $7,000.
Yeah.
So, so I forgot the question.
What kind of what's your overall?
Oh yes, what's my business
business
like?
Yeah.
I've started talking about wholesaling because I've never wholesaled a deal.
Yeah. Well,
So
with private money, you don't need to, right?
That's right. So I do right now 2 to 3 deals a month. 2 to 3 deals a month. And these are houses, right? But and my total target market's only 40,000 people. I'm in a very, very small area. But guess what? My average profit right now is $74,000 profit per deal.
Yeah, you don't need to do money.
You don't need to do many. I mean, how much money do you need anyway?
Right. Yeah.
So you run those figures, 2 to 3 deals a month at 74,000 profit. Run that out times 12 months, and that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. And your exit strategies you also do owner financing, right? Or lease options as well. It's just
right. Yeah, I've sold a lot of homes on rent to own, but in this current market, my lands. I'll just tell you, for example, 203 Brandywine Place. I just bought it a couple of months ago for $250,000. The renovation was $20,000, so I got $270 in it. You know what I just put it on the market for this morning, and it will be under contract within the next 3 days.
Oh yeah,
$429,900.
Wow.
Right.
And they'll probably go over asking with the way things have been going.
Oh, most of them do.
You know,
most of them do.
Yeah.
And it hurts my feelings because when they go over asking, all that tells me is I didn't ask enough to start with.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. So out of back to private money, out of these ways, what would your most effective way you think, or what have you got the best results with for raising private money? Going to these IRA events, going out and just meeting people in your close network, or what do you think?
The quickest way that I've raised almost $1 million in 90 minutes
Wow.
was hosting a private lender luncheon. So, talk
Mhm.
about leveraging your time. I mean, it takes the same amount of time to teach your private lending program that you're offering to individuals to invest in your deals. It takes the same amount of time to teach that to 20 people as it does one.
Right.
So, at my private lender luncheons, I'll have my team members, I'll have my CPA, I'll have my realtor, I'll have my real estate attorney, I'll have one of my general contractors that does the renovations. And once you get going with your private money, you would want to have one or two or three of your current private lenders. And so your team there is like giving you credibility. Always try to have the private lender luncheon at the nicest place I can afford it. So we
Mhm.
have ours on the Oceanfront Beach Club,
Nice.
and it's a preset meal. We don't let people order off a menu or anything because time is important to them.
Sure.
And again, it's a teaching event. I'm not pitching a deal. I'm not pitching a project. I'm
Hmm.
just teaching the private lender program. And now they're chasing you from you teaching them.
Yeah, exactly. Much better strategy.
Oh, I've never, as I said when we started out, I've never asked anybody for money. I,
Hmm.
I I love to position it to where, but here's the deal: there's more money out there than you can use.
Yeah.
Period.
Right.
Right. So, which would you rather be as far as a real estate investor goes? Deals and no money, or money and not enough deals? There you
Right.
go.
Exactly. Yep. Now, what was the difference, I guess, per profit on each deal using bank money versus private money?
Yeah. So actually, with bank money is cheaper, right? But it doesn't give you all the flexibility. And I actually get more deals, more offers accepted
Hmm.
using private money than I did using bank money because I can move so much quicker. So with bank money, the profit may be a little more per deal, but you can't do nearly as many deals.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So I'm willing to have a little bit. But then again, what's wrong with $74,000 using private money?
Right.
Right?
Nothing wrong with that.
And here's the deal: having access. Here's another writer downer.
Mhm.
Having access to the money is more important than the interest rate you pay.
True. I
Right?
I would agree.
And plus, if you're going to do a flip and you're going to use that money maybe for 6 months, then whether you're getting it for 5% or 6% or you're getting it for 8% ain't gonna make any difference.
Yep. And I agree. If you have a deal but you can't fund it, it doesn't matter anyways,
It
like you
don't
said.
matter.
Yeah, exactly. Now, is there any reason somebody would not want to be a private lender?
Well, they're not gonna be a private lender if they don't like you and trust you.
True.
That's why it's called relationship money.
Yep.
So you need to know your program. You need to be confident about what you're doing. And and another reason a private lender wouldn't loan, or I mean, I'm a private lender too. I mean, I do both.
Mm.
I do passive, sit back, collect checks,
Yep.
and I'm very, very involved as well. But I'm not gonna loan money out
Right. Of
right?
course.
I mean, you can legally. I
Yeah.
mean,
Might
I
not
mean,
get
you
it
can. I
back,
mean,
but
you
yeah.
know, but I'm not going to loan money as a private lender unless I'm getting the real estate, to back that note.
Sure. Yep. I agree. Okay. If you were going to start over, would you start with all private money, or did you want to use the banks and kind of, cut your teeth on that and learn it a little bit?
If I had it all to do over again, I would start with private money, and I'll tell you why. I remember all those deals I had to pass on the first 6 years because I didn't have the funding.
Yep.
And I just like hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so now with private money, hey, listen, I've not missed out on a deal for not having the funding ever since I started using private money in 2009.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, Jay, where can people find you on social media, or how do they reach out to you?
Sure. Well, I've got my own podcast, which is called, and I know this will shock you, the name of my podcast is Raising Private Money. Right?
Shocking. Yeah.
And so anyway, very, very easy to find, on iTunes, Spotify, all the places, that podcasts are.
Okay.
And in addition to that, on Facebook, Jay Connor, the Private Money Authority. The quickest way to connect with me is, Andrew, I'd love to give away a free gift right now.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
So I'm so excited about my new private money guide that I just finished writing. It's called 7 Reasons Why Private Money Will Skyrocket Your Real Estate Investing Business and Help You Build Incredible Wealth. If you are remotely interested in getting on the fast track to private money and having all the money available to you that you may want for your deals, you can download this private money guide at www.jayconner.com/money guide. I'm an ER, not an OR. That's JAYCONNER.com/money guide. Download it right now to get you on the fast track to private money.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And we'll put that in the show notes as well, the link.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you, Andrew.
So, well, we've come to our 5 to Thrive section.
I've never been in a 5 to Thrive section.
Yeah. So this is basically a word association game. So I'll just rattle off 5 words. And
now, this is a family show, right?
Yes, right. Yeah. Yes, we can edit, but yes, it's a family show. And just give me the first word or phrase that comes to mind. The only caveat is you cannot repeat your answer twice.
Oh my. Now I'm getting nervous. I'm getting nervous now.
So the first one is passive income.
Rent to own or tenant buyers.
Private money.
Sleep well at night.
Yep. Business automation.
Outsource.
Cash flowing real estate.
Cash flowing real estate. No other kind.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Better have that or you're in trouble, right? And the last one is Private Money Academy.
Boy, that's going to be hard to nail it down to just one thought. So Private Money Academy.
Or phrase or,
Movers and shakers.
I like it. Well, Jay, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I appreciate your time. It was great.
Absolutely, Andrew. You're a great host, and I just loved being on here with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.